Hey everybody, welcome back to the weekly paper portfolio update. Today is Memorial Day 2026, so the stock market is closed, which actually makes this a really good day to slow down, review the charts, adjust our levels, and check in on the overall portfolio without feeling rushed by price movement. So, what I'm doing first is going into the charts and adjusting my weekly levels. I'm checking those candles, updating the highs and the lows, marking important support and resistance areas, and just staying organized with the charts. So I kind of did that already, so I will basically, not the monthly, let's go into the weekly. So you will see that I took last week's candle, which is completely closed, all price action is done, and I notated the low of the candle and the high of the candle so that when I go back to the 15-minute time frame, and I have my low and my high here. This is where price ended at 8, when the market closed and post market on Friday. So it was around $462 here, but it shows me where it closed in relation to all the price movement of last week. This is the highest price got, this is the lowest price got. And those are levels that I keep in place for the entire trading week so we can look for things like if price is going to, if price gaps up tomorrow and the buyers step in and they break through this support level and then price comes back down and sits back on this, which was a ceiling before, now becomes the floor, and it holds above there, hey, we might be looking at some continued momentum up. But these levels give me some guardrails and pointers to kind of give me a perspective of what price is doing throughout the week. And that's something that I like to do. So let me move on over to the paper account. And I'm just going through my notes, bear with me. All right, so we're going to review the paper account itself because even though the market is closed and we can't make any trades today, this is still part of the investing process. Now, let me close this 1 minute. So if you happen to go into your monitor tab and you click on like the none is here and not opened, this gives you an overall summary of the different. This is kind of like your summary. The account is up 9.07%. This is what that looks like in cash. A little bit of drawdown on the day. And this is how much cash we have to invest. You can see those numbers here, but you can also see your buying power up here. All right, so that is that. Now for context, we originally opened up this paper trading account around the beginning of April. It was around April 1st, and we opened it with $5,000. Later on, I added another $2,000 into the account intentionally because I wanted to demonstrate something important for newer investors, that sometimes portfolios grow not only through market appreciation but also through consistently adding capital over time. All right, so now let's open this up so we can see what's going on. So this account has been open for around 7 weeks, and that's an important perspective when we start talking about performance. Right now, when we look at the overall account totals, the portfolio is up a little over 9%. Now, obviously, this is a paper account, but the lessons and the psychology behind managing it are very real because this is something newer investors struggle with emotionally. And it's not just newer investors. I think all investors and traders have some degree of emotional uh, psychology that they have to kind of learn how to temper and navigate. So sometimes when you look at your portfolio and immediately focus on the positions that are red or temporarily in drawdown, yeah, that's what they're doing. And if you only focus on those positions, you can start feeling like you're failing even when the overall account is actually doing well. For example, let's get into it. AMD is doing a lot of the heavy lifting now. AMD is up 75%. That is a magnificent gain. All right. Then you got your VTI and your SCHD. They're positive and continuing to do what they're supposed to do. Some other positions are temporarily in drawdown, and we can see those in our P&L. Elf is down 13%, Celsius is down 2, Meta's down 10, so on and so forth. Some other, but the overall portfolio is still positive. That's portfolio behavior, and this is why diversification matters. Another thing I want newer investors to understand is that the metric you focus on changes your emotional experience. If you stare only at your daily P&L, one losing position, or short-term red candles, you can convince yourself that nothing is working. But when you zoom out and look at your total return, your overall account growth, allocation, and whether your thesis is still intact, the story can look completely different. When we talked about long term investing in VTI, we discussed how many investors use something around an 8% annualized return as a conservative long term expectation for broad market investing. So when I see this account is sitting around a 9% gain after roughly 7 weeks, that doesn't mean every position is perfect or that there won't be future volatility. It simply means the portfolio overall is functioning. And sometimes investments just need time to work quietly in the background. Not every position is supposed to be green every single day, although we would love it to be that way. Some positions are carrying the portfolio while others are consolidating, cooling off, or temporarily under pressure. That's normal. And if you think about it, looks a lot like the overall stock market, where a lot of sectors in the US stock market have been red. They just have been down. And if it was not for the Mag 7s and the AI technology sectors pulling it out of the dark, it would look one way. But those sectors was actually keeping the stock market from not looking so bad. And so this kind of is almost mirroring that kind of same thing. So so now, since the stock market is closed, there's no pressure to make moves. This is really just a maintenance day to update our charts, to review the positions, review the account structure, and stay intentional. Because investing is not about constantly doing something. A lot of times it's about positioning yourself correctly and then allowing time to do some of the work. And honestly, I think this is one of the hardest lessons for investors to learn. Sometimes the portfolio is growing even when parts of it feel uncomfortable. So overall, I'm happy with where the paper portfolio is right now. We'll continue building, continue learning, continue adjusting the levels, and continue documenting the process in real time so people can see what long-term investing actually looks like, not just on the good days, but during the normal up and down days too. So before I close this out, I did want to show you something about the portfolio that you may want to do, and I'm going to do for us. And that is to create a column inside of here that shows me, like I have how many shares we have, what we paid for them, what they're trading at in the market right now, the market change, the P&L percentage, and then the P&L open and day. But I wanted something to show me what I actually invested. Like if I bought VTI 5 shares, well, how much capital did I put in there? So if you click on this gear icon here and you go where it says look up a column and put cost, and you click on this total cost, go down here and hit add. And depending on where you want it, I kind of want it to be, I might have to, oh, there we go. After the trade price, I want it right after what I paid for the actual asset and then the total cost. I want it there, so I'm good. You can drag and drop them and then hit OK. Now we have this new column in here. So I can, for example, look at VTI and say we bought 5 shares. We paid $335.50 a share, and the amount of capital was $1,677.52. And so this is how much we have invested into the positions. And then you can, then you got your P&L. of how much you made. So I like this number just because it gives me that perspective of when I'm looking at how a position's performing. Sometimes I wonder, well, how much did I pay for this? And when you only have your trade price, you don't have the total cost. So I like that. So what you're going to do is you can do that under customize columns. And I'm going to make one pro tip is click on the icon up here and say save your workspace. And you can just go in there. Actually, I just usually overwrite what I have. Save it as Renee's Rain. Save. So that when I exit out of here and I log back in, it'll keep this in here so I don't have to keep adding it in. And one area you're going to want to check is under application settings, under system, autosave layout configuration. I make sure that's checked. And I might not have had to have done that, but sometimes it doesn't, it gets glitchy, it won't work. And under startup, I have my workspace used on startup as the last application state. So that keeps me on that screen. Whenever I log in, it brings me back to the monitor tab. And screen shown on startup is the last used because you may have a few on there. And then you would just hit apply settings. And now that should stay in there for you. So that is that. All right, so as always, everything that we talk about on my channel, this is not financial advice. It's definitely educational, transparency, and documenting the journey. I will see you guys in the next update. Bye.